FLEXperience, putting the UX in Flex. I switched it around a little bit, so the presentation and the USB might be a little different, but you'll get the gist of this session. Tell a little bit about who I am. You're probably wondering what I'm doing here at a developer conference. So kind of not really full-fledged developer, but I'm a user experience specialist at Universal Mind. And I'm not really a designer, and I'm not really a developer, even though I do develop code and I work with designers. I kind of actually sit right directly in between those two areas. And I guess you could look at myself, if you're familiar with Catalyst, I'm basically a real live living Catalyst person, because I do a lot of those same things that you would see in Catalyst. I kind of implement those inside of applications that I build, and build prototypes and do wireframes, do all the stuff. And I'll go through that in the presentation a little bit. And oh yeah, by the way, I'll keep it kind of informal, so if you have a question or anything, just throw your hand up and I'll do my best to answer it. Can everybody hear me back okay? Okay, great. I'm also known as a little bit of a different identity, Merle.com. That's my little personal blog, so if you guys ever stumble across that, that's me. A little funny story about that. I work with quite a few guys at Universal Mind, and we all work in kind of a disconnected environment, so we all work with each other. We all live all over the United States. And I'll hop on projects with certain people at Universal Mind, and I've been working with them on projects before, and sometimes I realize, oh, wait a minute. They just realized that I was Merle at Merle.com. Like, oh, you're that guy? Well, I read your blog all the time. Like, so they find a weird connection. So I always find that funny when I work with a lot of people. Sometimes, like, they didn't know that. So I have a little secret identity, I guess you could say, on the web. It's kind of funny. I also get emails, Mr. Merle, a lot of times.
Why Merle?
The funny story is I had that URL for like 15 years, and it's one of those weird combination of letters. I wanted to shrink it as much as possible. It was used for something else a long time ago, and then I just kept it forever. So, and then it just stuck. So I really can't change it, even though it really means nothing. So that's the funny part about it. So I also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a little company called Ribbit. They're a voice-over API for voice for Flash and now other services as well. We have a little application with them called the Air iPhone, or the desktop iPhone. You might have heard of it or played with it or whatever. So I'll just show it real quick. Nothing real fancy if you haven't seen it before. It's just basically a Adobe Air application. When it first came out, I wanted to see if I could simulate the UI of the iPhone when it first came out. So just a little play on a little stuff. Everything was built in Flex. Everything's actually, I play with states and all that stuff. So everything, all the animations and stuff are actually in states. So log into the Ribbit service, and you can rotate the phone, and it's all fun. You can actually go and do some interesting, simulate the color flows and stuff. Use some open APIs and stuff like that. So I build stuff like this where I build prototypes. Obviously, this doesn't have a business purpose, but to give you an idea of kind of the stuff that I like to play with is this kind of fun stuff. Little interesting facts. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I don't know if you guys know where that's at, but it's really interesting to live in Grand Rapids and be a part of the user experience team at Universal Mind. We have actually two other guys that are part of the UX team. We all live in Grand Rapids. It's a little home away from home for all of us. It's kind of interesting. We have, if you guys are familiar with, I work for Universal Mind, but obviously Synergy is another large return application development company. They actually have their user experience studio in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we have quite a little design following in Grand Rapids, and we had Ryan Stewart come out a couple months ago, and he came out and did a little presentation at our, we have one of the only Adobe user experience groups in Grand Rapids. So he came out and did a presentation on Flash Catalyst, and we showed him around, and he says, wow, you guys have quite the following and quite the full design capabilities here in Grand Rapids. And I go, yeah, it's obviously because of all we have quite a bit of large furniture history with Steelcase and Herb Miller and Hayworth and all that stuff. So we have one of the largest concentrations of people that are focused on design due to our population. So it's kind of an interesting little weird fact. And also from a quote from Ryan Stewart, if you know he's an evangelist for Adobe, he came out and I took him around to a lot of microbrews in Grand Rapids. He's a lover of beer, and he says, well, you guys got quite the little beer heaven here. So he also made note of that too. So we do have quite a few microbrews, which is an interesting little tidbit of information. So what is this user experience? And a lot of you are probably wondering what it is. And we get a lot of misconceptions of, even internally at Universal Mind, and actually a lot of different people I talk to. They wonder, well, what is user experience? And it's actually a combination of a lot of different things, but a little misconception of what it is. They think it's just user experience is what they consider as putting the aesthetics on whatever they're going to build. And that's really not the case. That's just a small, very important piece, but it's a small piece of a lot of things that could happen in an application that you're building. Obviously, the term here that they use is obviously it's used to describe the overarching experience a person has as a result of all their interactions combined. And that could be for not only a physical device like this mouse, but it's also anything you do online. So it's the entire experience wrapped into everything. So we get a little bit of misconception with a lot of people that don't quite understand what user experience, because it's like a new term and people don't really understand what the meaning is behind it. But we have all these different types of different specialty areas that combine the whole entire user experience design. So we have information architects, you have human computer interaction design, usability, human factors, and user interface design. So sometimes these pieces of these puzzles all come together, and sometimes you only use, well, we're only going to use interface design. So there are bits and pieces that come and go inside the whole user experience puzzle. And I'm going to show you a little example about what user experience is. Got the little water bottle we got in our little, I guess you could call it a large man purse or a fanny pack, I guess. I don't really know. It's great. I'm glad they give stuff away. It's fun. But, so, I don't know if you guys have used this water bottle at all. And a lot of times you're like, just don't know what these do. Water bottles, just pitch around all the conferences and stuff. But I always like to look at them because a lot of them are all different. They all open differently. So I'll show you how you would attempt to use this water bottle. And, well, you would open it by pulling this little metal lever down, okay? Keep it closed, right, so it doesn't spill. And you push the button to pop this thing open. So that's how, and it's like, I don't know if you have kids or not, but it's like a sippy cup almost. So it's like got a little lip here with a hole in it. You can look at it when you get back to your room. So you attempt to drink this thing, okay? And I don't know about you guys, but when you drink it, I don't like the thing hitting me in the head when I drink it. So as you can see, user experience is involved in not only the product, but also, in the world we live in the digital world. So that just goes to say, well, there's no way to really drink this without this kind of hitting you in the head. So it's a little fun thing that all of us from a user experience, when we all look at everything in the world from a user experience standpoint of view. So we'll see how we can improve certain things. So it's kind of interesting that that cup is in that bag. So another little bit, some quotes and stuff, a little bit about what UX is, and this kind of sums it up. It's design is just about coming up with a solution. It's figuring out the right way to look at the problem. So we do a lot of figuring out what the what is before we figure out actually how the how is. So we have to first figure out what we're going to accomplish, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to accomplish it. So that's a big thing we try to stick with in figuring out the user experience. So today I'm going to walk through the user experience process. And this process changes, and everybody has their own process, but I'm going to kind of give you a lot of examples of what these different things are and how you can incorporate those into maybe projects that you guys are doing. And it's one of those things where just because I'm a user experience specialist, I mean, I'm not one magical person that's going to come up with ideas, or I'm just the person that goes into a client, talks to them, figures some stuff out. But I incorporate everybody that's a part of the team. That could be developers, that could be business analysts, that could be the clients, that could be designers, that could be all the other developers, project managers. So it's just because you're a developer doesn't mean you can't be a part of this process. Because I like to involve everybody. Because everybody has great ideas. It's just a matter of how those ideas come together to create the right solution that you're trying to figure out. And these are just some steps to help narrow those down. So hopefully you'll be able to take some things away and maybe actually incorporate some of these bits and pieces. One thing to note from this process, this time frame that could run in this is you could spend a month for research. You could spend a day for research. So depending upon obviously the budget and timeline for a lot of the projects you're involved in, sometimes they're very condensed, and sometimes it could be months on end. So just have that in mind. So obviously, not every single one of these steps could be a week-long process, obviously, with all the clients concerned with budget and timeline and stuff. So research. An interesting article came out just recently on the New York Times. This actually happened a while ago, but the article just came out in the New York Times. The top visual designer from Google, I believe his name is Douglas Brown, he actually left Google because he felt really constricted by the design constraints by what Google had. So there was an article, and he said it basically